Million-dollar coins are real in American history, but most collectors are blinded by myths and hype. Only at Rare Coin Collecting will you discover the truth, the real history, the real demand, and the true value of rare treasures.
1960. A new decade was beginning in America. John F. Kennedy was campaigning for the presidency. Rock and roll was sweeping the country. Families were filling up their cars at gas stations for just 31 cents a gallon, and in every pocket, purse, and cash register, silver coins jingled. Roosevelt dimes made of 90% silver were everywhere. They were ordinary to the average person, but unknown to most. Hidden in those shiny 10-cent pieces struck at the Denver Mint was a mistake. Tiny detail that today transforms a dime into a treasure worth six figures. This is the story of the 1960 D. Roosevelt dime with a repunched mint mark. And yes, if you find one in flawless condition, it could be worth more than $100,000. A simple dime, smaller than a bottle cap, with the power to change your life forever. Now let's go back to how this happened. In 1960, coin production was still an incredibly hands-on process. Mint marks like the D for Denver weren't part of the master die like they are today. Instead, workers had to punch each mint mark into the working dies by hand. Imagine the pressure, the precision required. And when they got it wrong, when that first punch landed a little off, they didn't just throw away the die, they struck it again. And that's when the magic happened. Two impressions of the D overlapping one another, slightly shifted, sometimes tilted, sometimes doubled boldly enough for the naked eye to see. What should have been a simple D became a doubled mint mark, a mistake forever locked in silver. Think about this, more than 200 million dimes were struck in Denver in 1960, but only a fraction, an absolute fraction, show this repunched mint mark. Over the years, millions of those dimes were lost in circulation, worn smooth, or melted down for their silver content when silver prices soared. Every year, fewer survive. And that's the beauty of rarity. Scarcity grows tighter, demand grows stronger, and value climbs higher. Collectors love these kinds of mistakes because they were never supposed to exist. Investors love them because they're not just silver. They're silver plus history, silver plus error, silver plus story. It's that combination that drives values into the stratosphere. Auction houses have seen it happen again and again. A high-grade 1960 DRPM dime, blazing with mint luster, untouched, and certified by a top grading service, can spark fierce bidding wars. Prices climb into the six-figure range, with wealthy collectors fighting tooth and nail to own one. Imagine sitting in that auction room, watching a 10-cent coin rise to $50,000, then $80,000, then over $100,000 as bidders refuse to back down. That's not fantasy. That's reality in the world of numismatics. And here's the part that should keep you on the edge of your seat. These coins could still be out there. Many people hoarded silver dimes before 1965, when the U.S. switched to clad coinage. Rolls of Roosevelt dimes were put away in bank vaults, attics, basements, and old jars. Some of those rolls haven't been searched to this day. Inside one of them could be the life-changing RPM variety. Just picture it. You buy a $100 roll of silver dimes from a coin shop, or maybe you inherit a jar of old coins from a grandparent. You pour them out in there, under a magnifying glass. You notice something strange about the mint mark, that tiny double D, and suddenly you're staring at a fortune. That's not just a story, it has happened. Ordinary people have stumbled across these treasures by pure chance. But here's the catch. Condition is everything. A circulated, worn, or cleaned coin won't bring much more than its silver melt value. But a pristine example, sharp, brilliant, untouched, can climb to astronomical prices. That's why grading matters. That's why collectors send coins to PCGS or NGC. And that's why you should never, ever clean a coin, because a single scratch can slash thousands off its value. This isn't just about money. It's about history. The Roosevelt dime honors Franklin D. Roosevelt, the man who led America through the Great Depression and World War II. To hold one of these dimes is to hold a piece of American resilience, cast in precious silver. And when that dime also carries a mint mistake, it becomes even more desirable. Collectors aren't just buying silver. They're buying a story, a symbol, a mistake that became a masterpiece. And with every passing year, as collectors lock these coins away in private vaults, As fewer come to market, scarcity grows. More scarcity means more demand. More demand means higher prices. It's a simple truth of economics, and in the world of rare coins, it never fails. That's why the 1960D RPM dime has already reached six figures, and why tomorrow's sales could go even higher. So I'll leave you with this thought. Somewhere out there, in a roll of silver dimes in an old collection, or maybe even in your family's change jar, the 1960D Roosevelt dime RPM could be waiting. And if you're the one who finds it, that dime could pay for a new house. It could wipe out debts. It could fund dreams you never thought possible. All from a coin most people overlook. Remember, one coin can change your life forever. So check your coins carefully. Look for that double D. And don't ever underestimate the power of pocket change. Because in the end, the treasure of a lifetime could already be in your hands. So find your treasure. 1963, it was the last full year before the assassination of President John F. Kennedy would change American coinage forever. At the time, Americans carried shiny 90% silver Roosevelt dimes in their pockets every single day. But in that very year, the U.S. Mint made a mistake, one that would transform an ordinary dime into a six-figure treasure. This is the 1963 Roosevelt dime with a double die reverse, and if you find one in pristine condition, you could be looking at more than $100,000 for a single 10-cent coin. So what exactly happened? The reverse die, the side with the torch, olive branch and oak branch, was struck more than once by the master hub. But on one of those strikes, it shifted slightly. That shift created doubling in the design. Letters of United States of America, the motto E pluribus unum, and sometimes even details around the torch. To most people, it looks like a blur or shadow. But to collectors, it screams value. And value is all about supply and demand. In 1963, over 457 million Roosevelt dimes were struck in Philadelphia, and nearly 276 million in Denver. That's more than 700 million dimes. But only a handful show this dramatic double die reverse. Out of hundreds of millions, just a trace number survive today. Each year, more of them disappear, lost, damaged, melted for their silver content. Scarcity grows stronger every single year, and demand, it never stops climbing. Auction houses have proven just how far collectors will go. Circulated examples might sell for a few hundred or a few $1,000s, but when the condition is blazing white, with full torch details untouched and nearly flawless, that's when the bidding wars ignite. That's when you see six-figure numbers, over $100,000, paid for a dime smaller than your thumb. Think about that for a second. A coin worth 10 cents in 1963 can now be worth more than most homes in America, more than most people earn in years of hard work. That's not pocket change, that's life-changing money. Collectors and investors know this coin represents more than just silver. It's a mistake, a rarity, a living piece of history. And because it's a double die, it cannot be replicated. It happened once, by accident, and that's it. That uniqueness is what fuels the fire. And here's the part that should give you chills. These coins are still out there. They could be sitting in old silver dime rolls, in forgotten coffee cans, in bank boxes, or in your grandparents' coin jar. Someone will find the next one. Someone always does. But condition is everything. Scratches, cleaning, fingerprints. They can wipe out thousands of dollars in value instantly. That's why if you suspect you've got one, you never clean it. You get it authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC. That little plastic holder can be the difference between a silver dime worth melt value and a six-figure rarity. And remember, scarcity only grows. Every year fewer exist, but demand among collectors and investors grows stronger. Wealthy buyers are willing to pay six figures for one because they know the combination of rarity and history will only make these coins more valuable in the future. The 1963 double die reverse Roosevelt dime isn't just a mistake. It's a miracle of survival. It's a reminder that in the most ordinary places, your change, your rolls, your jars, there can be treasures waiting to be found. So before you dismiss that old silver dime, take another look. Study the reverse. Look at the lettering. Because if you see doubling, you might just be staring at a six-figure fortune. And remember, one coin, just one coin, can change your life forever. So find your treasure. 1950, the first year of a brand new decade. The war was over, the economy was booming, and America was entering a golden era. Across the country, families were buying their first televisions, moving into new suburban homes, and filling their pockets with coins that, to them, were nothing more than everyday change. But history had something else in mind. In that very year at the Denver Mint, a mistake was made so small it could barely be seen, yet so powerful that today it can transform a 10-cent piece into a six-figure fortune. This is the story of the 1950 D/S Roosevelt dime, a coin born from human error, struck in silver, and now one of the most sought-after treasures in American coin collecting. Here's what happened. Back then, mint marks weren't part of the master design. They weren't carved into the hub like they are today. Instead, workers had to punch each mint mark by hand into the working dies. That meant accidents were possible. And in this case, a die that was originally prepared for the San Francisco mint bearing the S mark was mistakenly sent to Denver. Rather than discarding it, the Denver staff repunched a D over the S. The result? A Denver dime with a ghostly San Francisco mint mark hiding underneath. Think about that for a moment. One mint mark stacked over another, both visible under magnification, something that was never supposed to exist, a blunder that collectors now treasure. And here's why it matters. In 1950, just over 46 million Roosevelt dimes were struck at Denver, but only a tiny fraction show this D/S error. Out of those millions, most ended up in circulation, spent on candy, groceries, and gasoline. Over the years, many were worn down, lost or melted for their silver content. Each year, fewer remain. Scarcity grows tighter. And as scarcity grows, so does demand. Today, the 1950 D/S dime is a legend. Collectors and investors hunt for it relentlessly. And when a sharp, brilliant, uncirculated example surfaces at auction, the bidding war is nothing short of electrifying. Imagine it, a dime, just 10 cents on the auction, Block-it Heritage or Stack's Bowers. The bidding begins at a few thousand. Hands raise. Numbers climb. $20,000, $40,000, $75,000. The room grows tense. A coin no bigger than your thumbnail is now worth more than a luxury car, and in some cases, pristine mint state examples have soared past six figures, shocking even seasoned collectors. This isn't just silver. This isn't just 10 cents. This is history. This is error. This is rarity. And here's the part that should excite you. These coins are still out there. Not all of them have been found. Some sit quietly in old coin albums, tucked away decades ago by collectors who had no idea what they owned. Some may lie forgotten in inherited jars of silver change, waiting for fresh eyes to uncover their secret. That's why you should check every Roosevelt dime from 1950 with a D mint mark. Look closely at that letter. With the help of a magnifying glass, you might just see the faint trace of an S hiding underneath. That's when you know you've struck gold, or rather silver. And remember, condition is everything. A worn example might bring a few $1,000s, but a blazing mint state specimen, that's where fortunes are made. Collectors pay staggering premiums for coins with strong strikes, vibrant luster and clean surfaces. Grading services like PCGS and NGC confirm authenticity, and once that slab is in hand, the sky's the limit for its value. But it's more than money. The Roosevelt dime honors Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president who guided America through the Great Depression and World War II, and who founded the March of Dimes to fight polio. To own a Roosevelt dime is to hold a piece of that legacy. To own one with a minting blunder like the D/S is to hold an even rarer slice of history, one that connects us to the human imperfections behind the machines. And as time passes, as more collectors compete for fewer coins, scarcity drives the price higher, supply shrinks, demand grows. It's the law of economics, and it ensures that the 1950 D/S dime will only become more valuable. So picture this. You're sorting through an old roll of silver dimes, maybe bought from a coin shop or passed down from family. One coin catches your eye. You look closer. The D looks strange. You pull out a magnifier, and there it is, the faint but undeniable outline of an S beneath the D. At that moment, you're no longer holding 10 cents. You're holding a potential six-figure treasure, And just like that, your life could change. That's the power of a tiny mistake made 75 years ago. That's the magic of coin collecting. So check your coins carefully. Never dismiss a Roosevelt dime as just another silver coin. Because one of them, the 1950 D/S, might be worth more than you can imagine. And who knows? The next great discovery could be sitting in your pocket change, waiting for you to find it. So, find your treasure. 1949. America was rebuilding, reshaping and reimagining its future. The Second World War was over, the nation was booming, and coins, those little pieces of silver and copper, were moving through every hand, every store, every pocket. Most people didn't give them a second thought. After all, they were just change. But tucked away in that year's production, at the Denver Mint, something remarkable happened. A mistake, a tiny error that no one was supposed to see. Yet today, collectors are paying six-figure prices to own it. This is the story of the 1949 D/S Roosevelt dime, a silver coin born from the human hand from imperfection, and now among the most desirable treasures in American numismatics. Here's the truth. Back then, mint marks weren't part of the master design. They weren't engraved into the hub like today. Workers had to punch them by hand into the dies used to strike the coins. One slip, one change in plan, and an over-mint mark could be born. That's exactly what happened in 1949, a die, originally prepared with the San Francisco. As mint mark was redirected for Denver. Instead of scrapping it, mint workers punched a D over the S. On the finished coins, if you look closely, you'll see both, the bold D dominating, but the ghostly S still peeking through underneath. It's subtle, but it changes everything. Think of it this way. Over 26 million Roosevelt dimes were struck at Denver in 1949. Millions of those coins were spent, lost, melted down, or worn beyond recognition. But only a fraction, an incredibly small fraction, show this D/S error. That makes it rare. And with rarity comes scarcity, and with scarcity comes value. Every year, as more coins disappear into private collections, the supply shrinks. And as the supply shrinks, demand grows. Collectors compete fiercely for every example that surfaces, driving prices into the stratosphere. Picture the scene at an auction. The bidding begins at a few $1,000s. Hands go up. The numbers climb. $25,000, $50,000, under $80,000. The room grows tense, and before long, this tiny silver dime, once worth just 10 cents, is hammering for over six figures. Yes, six figures. It's hard to believe until you see it. But the truth is, pristine examples in mint state grades have already broken that barrier. Coins graded MS-67 and higher, with blazing luster and flawless details, can bring life-changing money. Even lower grades still command thousands, proving that every condition has value. But here's the part that should keep you hooked. These coins are still out there. Not every 1949 D/S dime has been found. Some are sitting in old rolls of silver coins, tucked away in bank vaults or coin jars decades ago. Some rest in forgotten albums passed down through generations, and some may even be hiding in collections, where the owner doesn't yet realize what they have. That's why you should check every Roosevelt dime from 1949 with a Denver mint mark. Use a magnifier. Look closely. If you see the faint outline of an S beneath that D, you may have stumbled upon a fortune. And remember, the better the condition, the higher the payout. Circulated examples might fetch several thousand, but a sparkling uncirculated one? That's where the bidding wars begin. That's when collectors and investors alike come forward, eager to own a piece of history, because it's more than just money. The Roosevelt dime carries the story of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president who guided America through the Great Depression and World War II, and who inspired the March of Dimes to fight polio. Every dime is tied to that legacy, but one with a minting blunder like the D/S? That makes it even more powerful. It's a coin that blends history, human error, scarcity, and silver into one perfect storm. And that's why investors and collectors are willing to pay staggering sums to own it. So imagine this. You're searching through a roll of old dimes. Maybe something you picked up at a flea market or coin shop. One coin catches your eye. The D looks strange. You look closer. A magnifying glass reveals it. The faint but undeniable trace of an S, hiding beneath the D. Suddenly, you realize you're no longer holding 10 cents. You're holding a six-figure treasure. And just like that, your life could change forever. That is the power of the 1949 D over S Roosevelt dime. So don't overlook your change. Don't dismiss that old dime. Because in the world of coin collecting, the smallest details create the biggest fortunes. Find your treasure.